Um, this is Jill. She has requested that I don't put her on video. Um, so, Jill, you know that spirit animals are basically, in a low form, shamanism. You responded to me earlier, yes.
Yes.
Do you believe in shamanism? I was not able to completely type all this down because you spoke too damn fast. But
It's just flowing, man. What I said was I don't believe in any one particular thing, shamanism included. But my belief is that there are a lot of things in this life that are true, and it's not our job to reconcile them. But I believe our job is to see and hear all we can, and learn about all we can, and then decide for ourselves which pieces of those things are things that we believe in. So for shamanism, I believe that spirit animals exist, but as to the faith or practice, I can't comment on that because I don't know about it.
so it's you know about the spirit animals, you know. Okay.
Yep, and that I believe in.
All right. As you did say that you don't do many practices, or you don't do any at all, but shamanism also has the belief in all living things are respected, as well as finding oneself and finding one's inner animal. Do you practice any of those?
Yes, I do. This past year, I've become very aware of myself and who I feel I truly am, instead of the labels that I've put on myself over my entire life, like a self I've tried to create. I've let go of the labels and just looked at who I was to begin with. And when I did that is when I was able to find my spirit animal. And spent this past year just really connecting with that and with myself. So, yeah, that is something I practice.
All right. Do you have any reservations about your spirit animal, as in hesitations towards it or fears about it in any way? Because there are people who are afraid of themselves. Do you have any of those fears?
Interesting question. Not anymore. Before I realized I was a tiger, my whole life has been a struggle in things that I've felt or things that felt I've needed to do, having feelings about things or tendencies one way or the other, and I feared that, and I feared myself because I didn't understand what I was doing or feeling, and I felt really different from other people, and so I felt like I was a freak.
I think we all do at one point or another, right?
Right? Isn't that the point? I mean, we're all on the same kind of journey, and to me, it's about walking the journey. It's like learning who you are, learning how to balance who you are, your skills, your talents, your powers, if you will. And when you finally get there, you've kind of made it, you know, in that sense. And so now that I've realized I'm a tiger, and the more I've read about it, it's like, oh, my tendency to want to stay up late at night, and that's when I do my best work. My tendency to be very quiet and reserved, and yet very adventurous at the same time. Things that don't seem to go together. They're all tiger characteristics. And learning about it has really helped me embrace myself, and just accept that, you know, that's me, and it's okay to be that way. We all have our stuff. So it's been one of the most beneficial things in my life, for sure. I love being a tiger.
You talk about your tiger a lot, and I see that you have a lot of feelings towards that animal. If you do not mind sharing this, how did you find your spirit animal? If it's a little too personal, you don't have to go into it, but
it is extremely personal, but I'll give you the gist of it.
All right.
It was about a year ago, and I had been on my, I guess, self-discovery journey for about 6 months, and I was laying in bed one night, just meditating before bed, as I usually do, and I had a vision, and I wasn't dreaming, and I wasn't daydreaming, but it was like looking at the ceiling without actually looking at it. You know, you see something in front of your eyes.
Seeing through it.
Or seeing in front of it, I guess. And I didn't know my spirit animal, right? And I saw this amorphous person, androgynous, but I knew it was a woman. And this person was lying at the foot of this mountain, just crumpled, lying there. Not dead, but pretty close.
Dying.
Pretty near death. And this white tiger appeared out of nowhere. And if you ask me, I don't like tigers. It wasn't my favorite animal. I had no ties to them whatsoever. But I saw this white tiger, and the tiger came and picked the woman up, like, by the back of her shirt.
Kind of like a cat would do to a kitten.
Yeah, exactly. And it started scaling up this mountain, just gracefully, quietly, just climbing up. And the mountain was gray and bare, jagged, no trees, nothing. And it got to the top, and it laid this woman down on this ledge, almost like it was putting her in a nest, just very gentle, and then laid down around her. And the tiger was just keeping watch, very quiet, but just doing its thing. And somehow I knew that the tiger represented me, which was absurd. I mean, I would think a horse would represent me, right? I love horses, but...
Because you ride.
Yeah.
Little known fact, Jill rides horses.
And horses, if you'd ask me, are my favorite animal. But I just knew it was me, but didn't really think much of it. And the vision at the time in my life had a very significant meaning. I understood what it represented as a feeling. And then throughout the year, I had more visions. Not that same one, but similar, where I was always depicted as a tiger. And as the year went on, the tiger changed colors. It was kind of like, it started off white, and then it would be kind of like this milky orange. And as the year went on, the color got darker.
And a stronger essence came around it.
Not really stronger. The strongest vision I ever had was that first one. But just the color changed. That was the only thing. And now when I see the tiger, it's typically orange. Although it's white or orange. There's no intermediate. And I've taken that to be, the more I've learned about it, the white tiger represents your inner child, who you are at your core. And for me at that time, I was really just coming into who I was, discovering my inner child, and realizing that she's really the power I have in life behind everything I do. She's my passion, my joy. And as I accepted myself over the last year and learned who I was, that was the essence of the orange tiger, who you really are, grabbing onto that, the characteristics that make you who you are. And I feel like now, through that work, I've learned to balance both those things, which is the essence of the tiger, is balance. So, yeah, really cool.
Now, you talk about your inner child, and this is part of the project. It's not going off base here.
Sorry,
Phones.
emails.
Yeah. You talk about your inner child, and with that, not many people know about the process of finding your inner child, or even what an inner child is. Even though we all say it, we don't all quite understand it. If you don't mind, can you go into what is an inner child to you?
Yeah, absolutely. To me, an inner child is something that everyone has, no matter how old you are, how grown up you are, how responsible you are. And my understanding and my feeling of it is that your inner child is who you are at your very soul. It's the essence of who you were when you thought you were perfect, and not in an arrogant kind of way, but when you were a kid. Most people say they feel their inner children are between 2 and 4. And if you think about, say, a 3-year-old, they live life just blissfully. They're childlike, they're playful, they enjoy life. They don't understand that their personalities might be irritating or they have annoying habits. They're just loving life. And I would say that continues all the way till you're about 5. And my mom always used to say, kids are ruined after they go to kindergarten. And she has no background in therapy or inner children stuff or anything, but that was just kind of her anecdotal comment. And I was talking to her about inner children, and I said, oh my God, Mom, I get it. Because you go to school, right, and you could have the best childhood anyone could ask for. But that first day of kindergarten, you start talking out loud in class, and you get reprimanded. And you learn, I can't talk unless I raise my hand, or I can't talk when the teacher's speaking. And right there, you start to shut down. And that's a pattern that everyone just goes through in their life. The world shuts you down, and you change because you learn to adapt. And in a lot of ways, you learn, sometimes falsely, that who you are is not who you're allowed to be. And our inner children get lost. And we spend so much time putting on the labels that I talked about earlier that we forget who we are on the inside. We forget who we were born to be. And yeah, so for me, I guess how I discovered my inner child was I was kind of on a not very good path. Spent a lot of time drinking and was just not happy. I was in school, and college, grad school, and was really struggling with it. Was just kind of done, was not happy with the path I was on, and I went actually to the local grocery store, and I never stopped to read the bulletin board flyers. But that particular day, something drew me to it, and I had been meditating at night, just trying to find something to help myself. And I would hear in my head, I would say I was thinking these really weird thoughts or saying weird things, and it made me uncomfortable. And so I'd stop right away. It's like, man, I hate meditating. it's freaking me out. Well, so I didn't understand what that was about, but this particular day I'm reading the flyers outside the grocery store, and there was one of those pull tab, like, homemade flyers, and it was by this woman who was advertising inner child therapy out of her house. And the flyer was like, who is your inner child? And then it listed like the 12 different personalities. And I remember I read protector, and there was something inside me that was just jumping up and down screaming, like, yeah, I'm in here. This is me. Just pay attention to me. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's you. That's the voice that's been saying all those weird things to me. That's who I didn't understand and who I didn't know, who I didn't even recognize. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. And I went home and started reading everything I could find online about inner child therapy. And it just took off from there. And so every night now, when I meditate, I have time with little J, as I call her, my inner child, who's about 3. And it's been really fun. I mean, I talk like I have a split personality sometimes, but it's just, it's been helpful for me as a way to pull apart the different threads of who I am. And actually, after having these visions of a tiger for a year, I still didn't make a connection. I just thought, oh, I envision things as tigers, okay, whatever. And then one night I had a vision, and I was talking to little J, and she was like, spirit animal. And I had never heard of spirit animals, I'd never read about them, I didn't know what she was saying. But it was a word I'd heard in passing, I guess. And the next morning, I looked up tiger spirit animals, and the rest is history. So, I believe that spirit animals are definitely a part of our inner child because it comes from the same place. I think of my inner child as my soul or my essence of being, which is also the tiger. So it's all linked together.
Now, we're going to talk about your spirit animal just for a few minutes. People have a conception of, oh, my spirit animal is my gender, but that's not always true. Is that way with you being female? Is the tiger a female form or a male form, just as the gender?
It tends to be a feminine energy, very maternal, but it's also about balance. So it's about balancing the masculinity, the power of everything, and then the feminine, the passion, the sensuality of it.
The love, that basically an equal balance between two emotions.
Yeah, the different ways to express love is how I think of it. And I definitely feel both halves of that and always have. But yeah, the tiger typically is talked about and referenced as a female, but balance is the biggest thing for the tiger. And so for me, it's been balancing both of those things.
No, a tiger is a very, very strong animal. When you see it, you envision power of strength, of a lot of different things. Does it sometimes, will it ever take over, do you think?
Interesting. It definitely has in the past when I didn't know about it, and I didn't know what it was. It feels like there's always an undercurrent of this extreme passion for whatever I'm doing, whether it's good or bad. And I've always felt that, although I didn't realize what it was. And there have been times in the past when that has gotten away from me. And that's the struggle I talk about with learning how to use my gifts and my talents and my, quote-unquote superpowers as a tiger, is that passionate devotion is extremely strong. And if you're not ready for it, the undercurrent can grab you and suck you in. So learning to harness that power and to use it appropriately, I think, has been my biggest challenge. And definitely knowing about my inner child And the fact that my spirit animal is a tiger has definitely helped because it's given me something to grab onto and to kind of ground myself to it and work around it.
You talked about superpowers as in the ability of seeing people's thoughts or flying. Some people have misconceptions about that, but knowing you as long as I have and knowing about superpowers, can you just give me a description of what your powers might be?
Yeah, I wish I could fly. I definitely can't do that. I refer to them as superpowers because it's easy and it's fun to say, but really what I'm talking about is kind of a metaphysical sixth sense. And for me, it again is something that I've feared most of my life because I didn't understand it. And now that I've embraced it, and it's like a muscle, right? The more you use it, the more you flex it and practice with it, the better you get at it. And as a spirit cat, I guess, a big cat, I am very sensual in that my tactile senses, like my sense of touch, are very, very extreme and developed. My emotions are very in tune with energies around me. And so I guess my biggest power is what I call hearing people. I can hear people's emotions. And it's not hearing in the physical sense, like with your ears, but it's like a knowing, I guess, of a feeling on kind of like another plane of reality. And over the last year and a half or so, I've tested this in numerous situations with numerous people. And I've gotten braver about kind of stepping out when I hear certain things and really challenging myself with it. And I'm convinced it's real. And for a scientist, that's a big claim to make. I need a lot of data to make a decision, and I'm convinced that's one of the powers I have. And also, I'm learning since reading about the tiger that tiger people typically are very good at they can touch people or even inanimate objects, and they can feel things from that. And that's something I've been working on in my spare time, like trying to develop that kind of sense. And I have felt it, like touching other people, like when they hug me or whatever, I can feel things from them. And I've been working on embracing that and practicing it, and it's definitely taking off, which is really exciting.
Okay. With the feeling of what do you feel when either you hug them or touch a piece of clothing or even see them? What do you feel around those people? Specific instance, like if I were to come up to you and there was something off and you would touch me, what would happen?
I don't know if it's just a matter of lack of practice or if it'll change, but right now I can only hear people I'm really connected with, like on a spiritual level, and I don't choose those people. And they don't choose me. It seems to be almost random, but it's people that I need to connect with for whatever reason or another. Like I can be of help or service to them in some way. And with those people, it's kind of like I'm in it for the long haul. So I'll give you one specific example. You can relate to this, but a friend of mine went out of town a couple months ago and had a lot of things to do while she was gone. And I purposefully did not look at her schedule. I didn't know where she was or what she was doing because I thought this is going to be a really good test of what I can hear, right? With no other information or knowledge. If I can hear her, it's good data, right? And I hadn't talked to her for a couple days. Good or bad, heard nothing. And I was sitting in my living room, and all of a sudden, I could hear her, is the only way I could put it. And it was a feeling of panic, worry, like she was in trouble of some sort, not to sound like Lassie, but it was like, I gotta check on her.
Yeah.
And I picked up my phone to text her, and another call came in, so I had to take the call. An hour later, got off the phone and texted my friend, and I never want to lead the people I can hear, like leading the witness. You don't want to say, oh my God, are you in trouble? I heard something. I just check in, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Just thinking about you, which is pretty much what I said to her. And she said, well, about an hour ago, we got in a car accident. Roads are bad, everybody's fine, but it could have been horrific.
Yeah, I know.
And, right?
Yeah, I was there.
You were there.
Yeah.
And
in that car.
yeah, and so we talked about it, when she came back later, and I told her that I could hear her, and that's why I texted. And she said, when I got your text, I knew she can hear me, because we had talked about, stuff like that, how I can hear her. And it's not in words. I didn't know you guys were in a car accident. I had no idea. But it's just a feeling of, it's almost like listening to whale songs. That's how I think of it.
Dory.
Not Dory.
Sorry.
Like, if you listen to a soundtrack of whales singing, like, you don't know what they're saying, but if you listen to it long enough, you get the feeling of it. So, it's definitely, it takes practice. And looking at it now, it's like, no wonder I was scared of it for all those years, because it's not a cut and dried. It's not like I can see dead people or something that you could kind of grab a hold of, it's very metaphysical.
With the metaphysical and with the spiritual, most people will call, I guess, that level of thinking an outer realm part of thinking. Some people can connect with that. You have talked about that you can connect with it. Do you think the main reason why is because of your tiger, or because of another spirit animal coming into your life as well?
Interesting. I think we all have the ability to connect with each other. Spiritually, I mean, we're all connected. We're all part of the same universe network of stuff. I think having a spirit animal that tends toward the metaphysical, like the tiger, I think it certainly helps. It has its disadvantages too, for sure.
Why would you call it a disadvantage with being able to connect with people? Think about it. You're able to connect with people. You're able to talk to your friends that are miles and miles away. You don't even have to pick up the phone to know what's wrong with them. What's the disadvantage of that, do you think?
Two things for me that really come to the forefront. One is it's very distracting. So there are days when I've got things I need to get done here in the physical world. I've got a job, I've got a house, I've got animals to take care of, and
people living in your house.
People living in my house, right? I mean, I've got adult responsibilities, and yet all I want to do is sit on the couch and listen to the people I'm not around, for better or for worse. And I'm picking up energies all the time, and sometimes they're really disruptive, and it's hard to shut that out. Or they feel really great, and I just want to sit there and bask in it, but I can't. And it's emotionally difficult to balance, when there's someone that you care about, that you're connected to, and you feel them hurting. It's hard to just tune that out and say, well, okay, that's your stuff, I'm going on with my life. Because you literally feel them hurting. And it's just another thing you have to practice and balance.
And just a few more questions, because I gotta get through this list that I
no problem.
made. Apparently just one more. Few questions. A lot of people will find role models in their lives to lead them. I know that everyone does, or if you don't, then good for you, I guess. But with your role models, and you take a look at them, do you think their spirit animal has led you in a certain way, or do you think a major spirit animal role model, just not even like a certain person, but do you think there have been other spirit animals that have come into your life at a different time that have pushed you a certain way?
Absolutely. Whether or not I knew about the animal at the time, now looking back on it, it's been very clear to me. More than I got what I needed when I needed it, and my inner child, I guess, my little tiger, although I didn't know it, she's very good at seeing other people's spirits, and their spirit animals. Typically, it seems to be like animals that are in the same realm as the tiger, so other land spirit animals.
Land/water, because tigers apparently swim.
They do swim, yeah.
It's the only cat that I know of that likes water.
That's exactly right. And that's where the tiger's kind of clairvoyant properties come from. But I have a hard time seeing water animals, at least as far as I know. I'm practicing it, but the friends that I've chosen and people that have been significant in my life, my role models have changed as I've changed,
Like everyone's.
Right, and I look for the things I need at the time. And one particular instance I can tell you about is in high school. I really felt like I needed a dominating female influence. My mom is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful in so many ways, but she's very passive and she's very kind and very gentle. And at that time in my life, I really needed a mama bear, so to speak, someone who was just ferocious and protective and
Hey, you mess with my cubs, I'm going to kill you, type of thing.
yeah, and maybe not quite so nice. And I met a woman who I kind of adopted as my mama bear, and we're still friends to this day. And even though I've only recently learned about spirit animals, for years I would look at her and I would think, "You're a wolf. You're just a wolf. Not good or bad, better or worse. That's just what you are." And recently we've started talking about that, and she's said, "Yeah, I've known, like my whole life that I was a wolf." Kind of in and out, coming and going with it. But in my reading about the wolf, one of their biggest assets is they are fierce protectors of their young, of course. They have a very developed parental instinct. And I thought, wow, little Jay, effective. You needed a mama bear, and you chose a wolf. That's good work,
Close enough.
Close enough.
Scary as hell. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, and she's been great for exactly what I've needed that kind of spirit essence for. So, yeah, and similarly, the other land animal spirits that I know are walking in my life, I saw the qualities in them before I saw the animal, and I have kind of positioned them in my life exactly where they need to be, knowing what their animal is after the fact. But yeah, I think we all have the capacity to be aware of things like that. It's just depending on your tendencies or your animal. It could be easier or a little more difficult to get there, but we can certainly all do it.
Now, this is kind of the last little question that I kind of, most of these I've made up on the spot. This list of questions has sucked that I wrote, but
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. What are the top misconceptions that you've found that people will come up to you and say if you have told them, or that you've just kind of wondered yourself and then found out later that those are not true? Because for me, mine was, spirit animal, those hippies kids, and it's like, no, there are a lot of people who were there, who were successful, who find their animal and learn to work with it.
Mm-hmm. Actually, this answer even surprises me because I wasn't expecting it. But I would say the biggest misconception that I've run into is that people are not going to understand spirit animals. That if I talk about it, they're going to think I'm crazy. Or they're going to think I'm some weird, hippie or
like
a
what
weird
I was
culture
saying,
kind of thing.
Western culture kids. No.
Right. And, or, they're going to think I'm, talking about astrology, or my horoscopes or my lucky numbers or something.
No, that's nonsense.
And as I've gotten braver with it, and I've come out, I guess you could say, to my mom. I told her I was a tiger, and then I came out to my siblings and kind of my closer friends. And
interesting choice of words going on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's really how it's felt.
Yeah.
Is this secret that I've kept my entire life of who I am at my core. And this feeling of I've tried to hide who I was my entire life for various reasons. Like I said, I didn't think it was normal. Or I thought it was only me, and taking off those labels and standing in front of the people I love and saying, this is who I am. It feels like coming out, and having them look at me and say, wow, that's really great for you. That's not something I ever heard of, but I'm so happy you're happy. And wow, do you have any idea what you think my animal could be? I mean, I've heard that literally from every person I've told, and it's shocking to me. I really expected disbelief and almost contempt.
Persecution almost.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten any of that. And actually, I've felt this throughout most of my life, and especially now, reading about the tiger. The tiger's biggest thing, I believe everyone has a job to do, right, in this life. And the tiger people, once they realize they're tigers, they find the greatest joy in helping other people on their spiritual paths to self-discovery. And it's absolutely how I feel. And talking with people about my journey and the things I've gone through and the awakening I've had, I've helped a lot of people in a very short period of time. And every time I do, it humbles me, which is how I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I've helped a lot of people find their spirit animals, which has been fantastic. And it's helped them kind of realize who they are and work with themselves better. And it's really helped me on a different level to connect with them. because I've always had a hard time understanding people, but I understand animals very well. Tigers tend to be very primal in their emotion and their instinct, which I've also always felt. And so, like my dad and I have kind of struggled with our relationship over the years. And recently, he and I working together discovered he's a Black Panther. And realizing that and looking at him in that light, it's really helped me see kind of who he is and why he is that way, and is helping us to bond better, and to work with each other better. So, yeah, it's been immensely helpful and shocking.
Well, Jill, thank you so much for doing this for me, and I do appreciate everything that you've done and said so far.
You are so welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, and thanks for sitting here with me for 30 minutes, it seems. Doesn't feel like it, but
Time flies when we're talking.
oh, right. It's a beautiful day out, first one in a week. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All right.
My pleasure.